here today with Frank Holmes, Chief Investment Officer at US Global Investors. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Sam.
We're here to talk about natural resources and the next big commodity cycle. There's this chart that I really like, and it shows the commodities index divided by the S&P 500 index. So essentially, the broader stock market relative to commodities, and it's on an all-time low. And when you look at the chart, we're looking at big macro cycles. So I want to hear your opinion on that chart and your opinion about commodities going forward.
Well, we also follow government policies that fit into that. And we compare those G7 to E7 countries. And in that whole process, there's no doubt there's big mean reversion going to take place when you look at secular trends and divide one by the other. But there's some factors taking place. So we have big changes in governments from India with Modi and China going after bureaucrats that are corrupt in some form or fashion. And we have this change with President Trump going after the Beltway Party likes to call it, and lowering taxes and streamlining regulations. So all that is going to be very significant in unleashing demand for commodities, because lower taxes always shows up in corporations increasing salaries or spending money, and it's been a decade since we've had a big durable goods spend. And so a lot of this equipment's old, and there's going to be big demand for these commodities. So I remain very bullish on it. And we're seeing other countries, even in the province of Ontario, promise lowering taxes. You're seeing it in Italy now. The conundrum that's there is lowering taxes. And when we look at fixed spending for equipment, et cetera, it's also at an all-time low. That means the power of mean reversion.
You've also talked about CapEx and the lack of, or the absence of capital expenditures on big macro projects over the last decade. So does that fit into this conversation as well? Is that the catalyst to move this to rotate over in favor of natural resources?
Great question, and you're absolutely correct on that. There's been a lack of big CapEx spending, and that shows up in durable good analysis, et cetera. Corporations at zero interest rates have basically not focused on this spending. This equipment is old, it's needed, and I think it's going to create sustainable growth in the economies around the world. Just to add to this great build out is the Silk Road that China is building through 60 some odd countries touching the borders. This is a mega infrastructure build, and this just adds more demand for this commodity cycle that we have to be aware of.